Hello everyone, you're watching the Beanbird 2 channel where we talk about testimonies and share the goodness of God. And today I want to begin by just making a few comments tying up what I talked about last time about having unwanted dreams. I did get a few comments of people saying that was an on-time message, and I really appreciate hearing that. But I also want to add to that we are not defined by what we're fighting against. And I just want to encourage you in that, because when we fight darkness, that means that we're not reveling in the darkness. We're not dwelling on it. We're not admiring it in any way. And that's a good sign. So as long as we're fighting something, I think that's a good sign, and that we're not defined by what we fight. And also, I want to say that when we fall at the feet of the Lord, when we feel the most unworthy, that's when His grace and mercy is magnified even greater. That's when we really realize that God's ways are not our ways, and that He is greater, and that His mercy is so great that we can come to Him at our lowest moments, and we will always be received as His children. And so I just wanted to encourage with that to start. So today I was listening to a live stream, and someone was sharing an account of how she was at work and the fire alarm went off, and everybody was sitting at their desk and acting like nothing was happening. And so she looks around the room and she sees nobody reacting to the fire alarm. So she says, guys, the fire alarm's going off. And her coworker said, oh, it's probably nothing. It's probably fine. And so I immediately thought of this cartoon that I'll put up as an image here of somebody sitting with their little coffee drink or beverage, and there's like flames all around, and everybody thinking, this is fine. And I thought that was a good picture of kind of what's happening today as we see the world around us going into chaos. We're seeing all the signs of the end times, and we're seeing, lawlessness increasing. And because human nature is to kind of get desensitized to these things, that people have just kind of become accustomed to chaos. And like a slow boil, they're not really seeing the perspective of how far we've fallen on a global scale. And complacency has almost set in there. And I think that when I was in elementary school, we used to have firemen that would come in on a special assembly day. And the firemen would come in and they would be dressed in their full gear, their uniform that they would wear if they were entering a house that was on fire. And the reason they did that is they wanted to teach the children that, like, this is what we look like when we go into a burning home. And if you are in a burning home and you see a firefighter, the worst thing that you can do is to run away from the firemen, because it's happened enough times where children have been found, unfortunately, have died from hiding in a closet or hiding under the bed from a fire because they were afraid. And some children have even run away from firemen because with their full suit on and their air intake, it looks very frightening. And so they do the opposite. Instead of running to the firefighter who's there to help them, they end up going deeper into the flames by hiding. And I thought that was a good analogy of when we are in times of trouble, or maybe we're experiencing something where we're going through a sin that we're trying to overcome. The worst thing we can do is hide from the Lord. We are the best if we just go straight to Him. And so that's pretty much the picture I wanted to make with that. Now, moving on, I was finding some more clips about the COP28 coming up, and I wanted to put some of those news pictures up to look at. And I wanted to point out that this is the COP28, which means that there was ones preceding it, a 27, a 26, and a 25, and all the way down. And what makes the COP28 different? I mean, haven't they had a whole bunch of these things? And the answer is they have had a lot of meetings. And every time it kind of perks our ears and we keep watch and look at that. And we see that the birth pains are increasing. But every time it comes around again, it's like it's in a situation where everything in the world has progressed more, because we're on that track of going towards Jesus coming back. Every year, every day is closer. And so I wanted to point out that I had mentioned in a comment in the last video, and I wanted to bring it up verbally, is that First Thessalonians 5 says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief." And this hints that we should be aware of the season that Jesus is coming back. And we're seeing this terminology play out again and again and again in the news media. I see clips of global natural disasters, and it seems like the newscasters are always throwing out the words peace and security, climate, peace and security. That phrase just keeps getting brought up again and again and again. And so I see here in the title of this article, it says the UAE's Javier says COP28 should be practical, leave no one behind. And that's in the title. We see that leave no one behind is there. Of course, when they say that, they're referencing the climate agenda, but it's just eyebrow raising to see that again. So then later on in the article, it says we need to ensure a just transition that leaves no one behind. He said, adding that low carbon growth was the future. He highlighted the need to triple renewable energy generation by 2030 and double low carbon hydrogen production while transforming food and agricultural systems. Now, some people might say, well, what does like climate change have to do with Bible? That there's no like climate stuff in the Bible. And it doesn't specifically say anything about climate change in the Bible, but it does reference in the Bible that in the end times there will be natural disasters, which we are seeing more of. And I think the fact that we see this leave no one behind, we see the 2030 agenda, which we know is 7 years out, and we're seeing peace and safety being thrown around. It's like a mystery of puzzle pieces that are being thrown out. It's not overtly out there, but it's like types and shadows, and we can kind of see it all coming together. So the next thing was the climate security of COP28 issues to watch. And there, I just wanted to highlight that number one said the nexus of climate and peace in the COP agenda. And there's that word peace. And then right down on number two, it says the geopolitical and security implications of climate finance. Right there you have, peace and security again. And then we can see that this summit starts tomorrow and goes all the way to the December 12th. And then also Hanukkah is overlapped in that time period because Hanukkah starts December 7th and goes to sundown Friday, December 15th. And I think that is something to definitely look for. Now, the next point that I wanted to bring out in this video today is that Red Sea moments. There are times when we're doing what we can and we wonder what the next step is for us in our ministry or in our spiritual walk. And I had this thing happen to me where I felt like I had kind of reached a dead end of growth, or I felt like I had reached the limit of what I could do in the environment that I was in. And I was a little frustrated by that. And so I was praying about it and I was saying, Lord, I feel like I've reached a dead end. I feel like I have reached a point where I can't really go beyond this point. And then I thought about how the Red Sea, I pulled up the verse I wanted to read. So it's in Exodus 14, verse 10. It says, as Pharaoh drew near, the sons of Israel looked, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they became very frightened. So the sons of Israel cried out to the Lord, and then they said to Moses, is it because there was no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die this way, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Egypt, saying, 'Leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians'? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." But Moses said to the people, "Do not fear. Stand by and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you will never see them again forever. The Lord will fight for you while you keep silent." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the sons of Israel to go forward." And I really wanted to linger on that last verse in verse 15 where it says, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the sons of Israel to go forward." And I really felt like when we feel like we have run out of runway, that's where we fly on the Holy Spirit. Sometimes it can feel like we're at a dead end and it's like, where do we go from here? I've reached a dead end. There's no more runway. And that's when we have to rely on the supernatural power of the Holy Spirit to give us the flight, right? To fly on the coattails of the jet stream of the Holy Spirit. And I just wanted to say and encourage that things that look like physical dead ends, they're not dead ends when God is with you and anything is possible. And we don't really, there is no limit to what we can do if we're leaning into the Lord. And I just really liked that image. I liked thinking about how when they came to what looked like a dead end, God was just telling them, keep going, move on, go forward, rely on God's promises, have faith, and you will find that there is more ahead of you. There's more to be done, and God can do limitless things. And so we just rely on him for that. So that's it. I hope it was a good message for you guys and there's some takeaways there, and I will see you all tomorrow.